You feel that this is so much a part of him, this home. He loved this home. He always came back here, no matter what.
For decades, Elvis Presley was more than just the king of rock and roll. He was a symbol of charm, talent, and larger-than-life fame. But behind the flashing lights, the sold-out shows, and the million-dollar smile was a man haunted by secrets the world never knew. Recently, a private diary hidden away from the public eye for years was discovered, revealing the raw emotions, regrets, and heartbreaking truths of a man the world thought they understood. What was inside those pages will change everything you thought you knew about Elvis Presley, and it will leave you in tears. The secret in the drawer. Lisa Marie had always been a curious child. Even as a little girl running through the grand halls of Graceland, she would peek into closets and open old boxes, always wondering what stories they held. Her father used to laugh and call her his little detective. Now, as a grown woman, that same curiosity still lived inside her heart, though it was mixed with something deeper, something sadder. Years had passed since Elvis left this world. Years since his voice filled these rooms. Years since his footsteps echoed down these very corridors. But Graceland never forgot him. The house remembered everything. It held onto his memory like a precious treasure, keeping it safe in every corner, every shadow, every beam of light that came through the windows. Lisa Marie had not been back to the mansion in quite some time. Life had pulled her in different directions, and sometimes it hurt too much to walk these halls. But today felt different. Today, something was calling her home. She moved slowly through the quiet rooms, her fingers trailing along the walls. Everything looked just as it always had. The furniture stood in the same places. The curtains hung the same way. Even the air seemed to hold the same gentle stillness. Yet something felt different to her now. Perhaps it was she who had changed. When Lisa Marie reached her father's old bedroom, she paused at the doorway. This room had always felt sacred to her. It was his private world, the place where he could be just himself, away from the cameras and the crowds and the constant demands of fame. She stepped inside carefully, almost as if she might disturb something important. Her eyes wandered across the room, taking in each familiar detail: the bed where he used to rest, the mirror where he would check his appearance before heading out, the window that looked over the grounds he loved so much. And then her gaze landed on something she had never really noticed before. A small desk sat against the far wall, and in that desk was a drawer, a locked drawer. Lisa Marie walked closer. She knelt down and tried the drawer gently. It would not budge. She looked around for a key but found nothing. How strange, she thought. All these years, and she had never known this drawer was locked. What could be inside? Why had it been sealed away? The question stayed with her for days. It whispered to her at night. It followed her through her morning coffee. It tugged at her thoughts when she tried to focus on other things. Finally, she could bear it no longer. She called the house curator, a kind man who had worked at Graceland for many years and knew its secrets better than anyone. Together, they returned to the bedroom. The curator brought his tools, and with great care, they worked on the old lock. Lisa Marie felt her heart beating faster with each passing moment. Part of her wanted to stop, to leave the drawer closed forever. But the other part, that curious little girl who still lived inside her, needed to know. The lock finally gave way with a soft click. The curator stepped back, giving Lisa Marie space. She reached forward with trembling hands and slowly pulled the drawer open. Inside lay a single item, a small leather-bound diary, its pages yellow with age, its cover worn from use. There, pressed faintly into the leather, were 3 letters: E-A-P, Elvis Aaron Presley. Lisa Marie stared at it for a long moment. This was his. This was something he had touched, something he had written in, something he had kept private and personal. Her father's own words, hidden away all these years, waiting. She lifted the diary from the drawer, feeling its weight in her hands. It was heavier than she expected, or perhaps that was just the weight of what it might contain. Her fingers rested on the cover, but she could not yet open it. What would she find inside? What thoughts had he written down in his most private moments? What fears, what hopes, what dreams had he kept secret from the world? Lisa Marie was afraid of what she might discover, but even more afraid of what she might feel when she finally knew. And in that quiet room where fame had once lived loud, Lisa felt something she hadn't felt in years of his presence. So keep watching to know what happened next. The words he kept inside. Elvis Presley was not the man the world thought they knew. On stage, he moved like lightning and smiled like the sun itself had come down to earth. His voice could shake stadiums and make thousands of people forget their troubles. But inside, where no one could see, he was different. He was softer. He was tired. He was searching for something that fame could never give him. Late at night, when the concerts ended and the crowds went home, Elvis would sit alone in his room. The applause would still ring in his ears, but the silence around him felt even louder. In those quiet hours, he would take out his small leather diary and write, not songs, no plans for his next show, just thoughts, just feelings, just the truth of who he really was. The diary pages held his secrets. They caught his worries like a net catches butterflies. And once those words were written down, they stayed there, trapped forever in faded ink. He wrote about the nights when sleep would not come, how he would lie in bed staring at the ceiling, his mind racing with 1,000 thoughts. The world saw him as someone who had everything, but he felt like he was always chasing something just out of reach. Rest seemed like a distant dream, something other people got to enjoy but not him. Fame was supposed to feel wonderful. That is what everyone told him. You are the king, they would say. You have everything. But Elvis knew better. Fame was heavy. It pressed down on his shoulders like a coat made of stone. Everywhere he went, people wanted something from him. A smile, a song, a moment of his time, a piece of his soul. He gave and gave until he was not sure what was left for himself. In his diary, he poured out the loneliness that lived in his chest. It was strange, he wrote, to be surrounded by so many people and still feel completely alone. Thousands would scream his name. But when the lights went down, who really knew him? Who saw past the shiny clothes and the famous face? Who cared about the regular man underneath? He wrote about Priscilla with tenderness and regret. She had been his light for so long, but even the brightest lights can flicker and fade. He wondered if he had loved her the right way. He wondered if the life he gave her was fair. Being married to someone famous meant living in a shadow, and he knew that shadow was cold and dark. His heart ached when he thought about the choices he made and the paths he took. Love should feel simple, but nothing in his life was simple anymore. There was a fear that haunted him more than any other. It crept into his thoughts during quiet moments and whispered terrible things. What if they forget me? What if one day the music stops and people move on to someone new? What if everything I built just disappears like smoke in the wind? He did not want to be remembered only as the king, as some untouchable legend on a poster. He wanted people to know he was real, that he hurt and hoped and dreamed, just like everyone else. In the diary, Elvis wrote that he wished to be seen, really seen, not as a performer or a celebrity or an icon, just as a man who tried his best, a man who sometimes failed, a man who loved deeply and felt everything so strongly it sometimes broke him apart inside. These were not the words of someone living a fairy tale. These were the confessions of a soul crying out for peace, for understanding, for a moment of genuine connection in a world that only wanted him to keep performing. The diary held all the letters he never sent, all the thoughts he never spoke aloud, all the parts of himself he kept hidden away, safe from the hungry eyes of the world. And now, years later, those words waited in the drawer, ready to finally be heard. The last walk through home. Elvis Presley had always been a nighttime wanderer. Even as a young man, sleep came to him like a shy animal that refused to be caught. But on this particular night, the restlessness felt different. It felt heavier. It felt like something was ending, though he could not quite name what it was. The halls of Graceland stretched out before him like a maze of memories. Each step he took echoed softly against the walls. The house was sleeping, but he was wide awake. His body felt tired in a way that went deeper than just needing rest. It was the kind of tiredness that settles into your bones and makes everything feel like too much effort. He carried his pen in one hand and his diary in the other. The small leather book had become his closest friend in these recent months. It never judged him. It never asked for anything. It simply listened to whatever he needed to say. Elvis moved from room to room, his feet knowing the way, without his mind having to think about it. He had walked these paths so many times. As a younger man full of dreams, as a new father holding his baby girl, as someone climbing higher than he ever imagined, and now, as someone who felt like he was slowly fading away. The moonlight came through the windows and painted silver stripes across the floor. He paused by one window and looked out at the grounds, his home, the place where he was supposed to feel safe and happy. But tonight, even Graceland could not chase away the heaviness in his heart. He thought about all the things he wished he had done differently, the words he should have spoken but kept locked inside, the moments he let slip away because he thought there would always be more time. Time was a funny thing. When you are young, it feels endless. But now, standing in the quiet darkness, time felt like sand running through his fingers, no matter how tightly he tried to hold on. His mother came to his mind the way she always did when he felt lost. Gladys. Her name was like a prayer. She had loved him with a fierceness that nothing else in his life had ever matched. Not the fame, not the money, not the screaming crowds, just pure, simple, powerful love. She had been gone for so many years now, but sometimes he swore he could feel her presence. Like a gentle hand on his shoulder, like a whisper in the quiet telling him everything would be all right. Tonight, her memory felt especially close. He could almost hear her humming the old songs she used to sing. He could almost smell her perfume. He wondered if she was waiting for him somewhere beyond all this. The thought brought him both comfort and sadness. Elvis finally made his way back to his bedroom. He sat at his desk and opened the diary one more time. His hand moved across the page, slowly, carefully, as if each word weighed 1,000 pounds. He wrote about the regrets that sat heavy in his chest, about the love he felt but never quite knew how to express properly, about feeling like a stranger in his own life sometimes. He wrote about being tired, not just in body but in spirit. The world had asked so much of him for so long, and he had given everything he had. Now there was not much left to give. As the first light of dawn began to creep through the curtains, Elvis closed the diary. He ran his fingers over the worn leather cover one last time. Then he placed it carefully in the desk drawer and turned the small key in the lock. Click. The sound was final. Certain. He walked to his bed and lay down. The pillow felt soft beneath his head. His eyes grew heavy at last. Outside, the birds were beginning their morning songs. Inside, everything was still and quiet. Elvis closed his eyes and let the exhaustion take him. He did not know this would be the last time, but somewhere deep inside, perhaps a part of him did. A part of him was ready to finally rest. And Graceland held its breath. The air in the room felt different, then lighter, somehow. For the first time in decades, she felt as though Elvis had finally said goodbye and meant it. The confusion of the heart. Priscilla Presley had always been strong in the kind of way that does not need to be loud. She carried herself with grace, even when the world around her felt like it was crumbling. Through all the years, all the changes, all the heartbreak, she remained composed. But beneath that calm surface lived an ocean of feelings she rarely let anyone see. Today, she sat alone at a small table in Graceland. The house felt different now, quieter, more like a museum than a home. Lisa had called her days earlier, her voice shaking with emotion, telling her about the diary, the locked drawer, the hidden words. And now, here it was, placed gently in front of her like a fragile gift. Priscilla stared at the worn leather cover for a long time before touching it. Her fingers trembled slightly as they hovered above the initials pressed into the surface. E-A-P. Even now, after all these years, seeing those letters made her heart skip a beat. Some feelings never really go away. They just learn to live quietly inside you. She had loved him once with everything she had. Young and hopeful, she believed their love could survive anything. But life had other plans. Fame became a third person in their marriage, always demanding attention, always pulling him away. The stages, the tours, the endless parade of people who needed him. She understood his calling, but understanding something does not always make it hurt less. Their marriage ended, but the love never quite did. It changed shape. It became something softer, more complicated, like a song that plays in a minor key, beautiful but tinged with sadness. Now, with the afternoon light streaming through the windows, Priscilla opened the diary. The pages were delicate, threatening to tear if handled too roughly. His handwriting greeted her like an old friend. Messy, but sincere. She could almost hear his voice in each line. She read slowly, taking her time with each entry. Some pages made her smile, remembering the man she knew behind all the glitter and fame. Other pages made her chest tighten with an ache she thought she had buried long ago. Then, she turned to a page that felt different. The writing here was more careful, more deliberate, and it was addressed to her, though he never sent it, never spoke it aloud, just wrote it down in the privacy of his loneliest moments. The words on that page broke through every wall she had built around her heart. He wrote that he never stopped loving her. What happened between them was not about choosing to leave. It was about being swept away by something bigger than both of them. Fame had become a current too strong to swim against, and by the time he realized what was happening, they were already on different shores. He confessed that he thought about her often, wondered what life would have been like if he had been braver, if he had chosen differently, if he had understood sooner that all the applause in the world could not fill the space she left behind. The final lines on that page made the tears come without warning. He wrote that if he could start everything over, knowing what he knew now, he would choose simple things: a front porch, a quiet evening, her hand in his, no stage, no lights, no crowds. Just them. Priscilla pressed her hand to her mouth as the tears fell freely. All these years, she had wondered, had carried questions that had no answers, had loved and lost, and learned to live with the empty spaces. And now, here were his words, his truth, his heart laid bare on yellowed paper. She closed the diary gently, as if closing it too hard might break the spell. Her fingers rested on the cover. The room was so quiet she could hear her own breathing. The sunlight made patterns on the table. Somewhere outside, birds were singing. She thought about forgiveness, about all the anger and hurt that had lived inside her for so long. And she realized something had shifted. Reading his confession felt like finally understanding the end of a story she had been living for decades. Priscilla whispered into the silence, her voice barely more than a breath. She knew. And somehow, that changed everything. Lisa folded the page gently and placed it back inside the diary. It didn't need to be completed. Somehow, it already was. So, keep watching to know what happened next. The music that never played. Lisa Marie Presley had inherited more than just her father's eyes and his famous name. She had inherited his sensitivity too. The way feelings could wash over her like waves, sometimes gentle, sometimes strong enough to knock her off her feet. She felt things deeply, just like he did. And right now, sitting with his diary in her hands, she was feeling everything at once. The afternoon had grown late. Shadows stretched across the room like lazy cats. She had been reading for hours, traveling through her father's private thoughts, seeing sides of him she never knew existed. Each page revealed another layer, another truth, another piece of the puzzle that was Elvis Presley. As she neared the end of the diary, something different caught her eye. The handwriting changed. It became looser, more scattered, as if the words were tumbling out faster than his hand could catch them. And there, spread across several pages, were lines that looked like poetry. No, not quite poetry. Lyrics. At the top of the first page, written in his familiar scrawl, was a title, The Other Side of Fame. Lisa's breath caught in her throat. A song. He had been writing a song. But as her eyes moved down the page, she realized it was incomplete. Just fragments, pieces of ideas. Lines that started but never finished. Words crossed out and rewritten. Notes in the margins about melody and rhythm that existed only in his mind. She read the lines slowly, carefully, as if speaking them aloud might bring them to life. The words spoke of wanting to be free, free from expectations, free from the weight of being someone everyone needed, free to just be. There were lines about faith, about believing in something bigger than himself, about hoping that somewhere beyond all the noise and chaos, there was peace waiting, a place where he could rest and finally feel whole. And then there were words about home, not Graceland, the mansion, not Memphis, the city, but home as a feeling. Home is the place where you are truly known and truly loved, where you can take off all the costumes and put down all the masks and just breathe. Lisa's voice cracked as she read these unfinished verses. She could hear him in them, could feel his longing, his hope, his quiet desperation for something real in a world that felt increasingly fake. She looked up from the diary and let her eyes wander around the room. On the walls hung photographs, not the famous ones that appeared in magazines and on album covers. These were different, personal, private. There was a picture of Elvis holding her as a baby, his face split wide with a grin that reached his eyes. At that moment, he was not the king. He was just a dad, amazed and terrified and overflowing with love. Another photo showed him with his own mother, Gladys. He looked so young, so innocent, before the world knew his name, before everything got complicated. There was one of him sitting on the front steps of Graceland in casual clothes, no makeup, no styled hair, just a man enjoying a quiet morning. In each image, Lisa saw something she had always known, but never quite understood. Her father was not just the legend everyone worshipped. He was not just the voice that changed music forever. He was a person, a real, complicated, beautiful, broken, hopeful person. He got tired. He doubted himself. He wanted simple things. He dreamed of peace. He tried so hard to be everything for everyone that sometimes he forgot how to just be himself. The unfinished song in his diary was like a window into his soul. These fragments of music and meaning showed what he truly wanted. Not more fame, not bigger stages, not louder applause, just freedom, just faith, just home. Lisa closed the diary and held it against her chest. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but they were not only sad tears, they were also tears of understanding, of connection, of finally seeing clearly. She whispered into the quiet room, "I see you now, Daddy. I really see you." And somehow, she knew he heard her. And somewhere, in that quiet, the king finally rests, not as an icon, but as Elvis Presley, the man who found heaven in the truth he left behind. The legacy of the king. If houses could speak, Graceland would have the most beautiful voice, soft and deep, filled with stories that span decades. It has watched so much life unfold within its walls, joy and sorrow, laughter and silence, beginnings and endings. And unlike people who forget, houses remember everything. Graceland has always been more than just brick and wood and glass. It has been a keeper of secrets, a holder of memories, a witness to the human heart in all its complexity. And now, in its golden years, it stands as a monument not to fame, but to truth. The halls are different now than they were in the old days. Back then, they buzzed with energy, people coming and going at all hours, music pouring from every room, the sound of footsteps running up and down the stairs, the smell of food cooking in the kitchen. Life is happening in every corner. Now, the halls are quieter. The energy has changed. Visitors walk through slowly, reverently, looking at the furniture and the decorations like they are viewing paintings in a museum. They take pictures. They whisper to each other. They try to imagine what it was like when he was here. But they do not know the whole story. They cannot. They see the glittering jumpsuits behind glass, the gold records on the walls, the cars in the garage, the swimming pool out back. They see the legend, the icon, the king. What they do not see are the tears that fell in the bedroom late at night, the pacing in the hallways when sleep would not come, the loneliness that filled the spaces between all that fame, the human being who lived beneath the spotlight. In one of the rooms now, displayed carefully behind protective glass, sits a small leather diary. The label beside it explains what it is, in simple words: Personal Journal of Elvis Presley. But those words cannot capture what the diary truly holds: the rawness, the vulnerability, the soul of a man laid bare on paper. Visitors pause in front of it. Some lean in close, trying to read the faded handwriting. Others simply stand and stare, wondering what secrets those pages contain. A few have tears in their eyes, though they might not fully understand why. There is something about seeing such an intimate object that touches something deep inside. But the visitors do not know about Lisa Marie sitting alone, reading those pages with shaking hands. They do not know about Priscilla wiping away tears as she finally understood. They do not know about the confessions and the regrets and the unfinished songs. They do not know about the healing that happened when those words were finally read. Graceland knows, though. Graceland remembers. When the sun sets and the last visitor leaves and the doors are locked for the night, the house settles into itself, the creaks and groans of old wood, the whisper of air moving through the rooms, the gentle settling of a structure that has stood for so long. In these quiet hours, when no one is watching, something special happens. The house seems to breathe, to remember, to hold space for all that has been and all that will never be again. Some say that spirits linger in places they love. That energy never really disappears, it just changes form. Whether you believe such things or not, there is something undeniable about Graceland at night. A presence, a feeling, a sense that someone is still here, watching over the place they called home. But if Elvis does linger here, he is not the performer anymore, not the man gyrating on stage or flashing that famous smile, not the king everyone wanted him to be. He is just a soul at rest, finally unburdened, finally free, finally able to exist without pretending or performing or being anything other than what he truly was. The diary preserved his truth, and in telling that truth, even years after he was gone, something was released, a weight lifted, a circle completed. There was a line he wrote near the end of his diary, simple words that carried profound meaning. He wondered if heaven was not some distant place in the clouds, but rather the peace that settles over you when you finally stop hiding, when you let yourself be seen, when you speak the truth that has been locked inside. Maybe he found that heaven, maybe Graceland gave it to him, and now the house stands, patient and eternal, holding all these secrets close, remembering the legend, honoring the man, forever home. Now, tell us what you think. Did Elvis's hidden words touch your heart the way they did ours? Share your thoughts below. And if this tale stirred something in you, share with us in the comment. Let the story of life and love encourage us to live our best moments with the people we love.